What's going on, everybody? John Impemba here with Andrew Cooper. This is the Fantasy Alarm NFL Week 9 live stream. Coop, great to be with you here again. Another wild week in the NFL. Kind of some ugly matchups that we got going on, and I'm already looking in our Discord. And once again, these start-sit questions are kind of difficult, a little dirty. Some players that you're really wondering, are they going to be able to play a whole game? We got a lot of guys on snap counts, and of course, what are we doing with Adrian Peterson this week against the Rams? All things we're going to touch upon before we end today's stream. But before we get it really going, man, how you doing?
Doing well, man. This has got to be the craziest week of NFL news and, events that I can remember in my entire life, honestly.
Since last week. Yeah.
Insane. Yeah, it's been nuts, dude. The Derrick Henry Ruggs,
Odell Beckham Jr.,
Calvin Ridley, all these things. It's the stuff like Michael Thomas being out for the year, it doesn't even feel like news compared to some of this other crazy news. So, we got our work cut out for us today, buddy.
We definitely have our work cut out for us today. And like you mentioned, not only those guys already out, we're getting news again right as we're going live here. Tua ruled out for today. Turns out he's got a fractured finger in his throwing hand, which moves Jacoby Brissett now into a really good spot against Houston, But do you want to play Jacoby Brissett, right? That's obviously always the question here. Maybe Myles Gaskins becomes much more of an interesting option today against Houston, especially for those playing DFS. He was already, I think, figured to be one of the more popular options. But knowing no Malcolm Brown, now knowing the backup quarterback and Jacoby Brissett is in, maybe they run the ball a little bit more here against Houston. So definitely certain things that we're looking for. We have returning players such as George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey this week as well. Both of them are expected to be limited, so that's something we have to sort of again weigh. How much do you invest in a Christian McCaffrey this week? Are you going to play him regardless? Are you, depending on what some of the start-sit questions that we get today, where you talk about before we went online, what's the line, right? Where are we willing to accept, a 40% snap share, we'll say, of a Kittle or a McCaffrey versus a full snap share for player A or player B. So we'll have to go over that as you guys all answer questions. I'm already seeing them load up here in our Discord. So we have a lot to get to. But Coop, you generally do a feature, what you're looking for this week. Why don't you give us some of the highlights there, some of the key things that you're hoping to see maybe this week, hoping to get out of this week. We said all those things. We didn't even mention the fact that Aaron Rodgers is out and that Jordan Love is going to be, making his debut, starting a football game here for the Packers going up against the Chiefs. So just another added storyline to everything that's going on this week in fantasy football.
Yeah, so I think this is something I actually talked about, not in my Coop's Corner, what I'm looking for, but my Coop Scoops this week was about quarterback tendencies, right? And, we have guys that mobile quarterbacks that don't really throw to the running back a lot. You have some guys that are super quick release guys, letting the ball out of their hand 2.5 seconds. Big Ben led the league last year. He's leading it again this year. Tom Brady's always been like that. Mike White obviously is in that group with the 20 checkdowns to the running backs.
Right.
So one big thing that I'm looking for this week is with these backup quarterbacks, right? For instance, you and I talked about this. Jacoby Brissett loved throwing it to Mike Gesicki to the point where people were worried that Gesicki wouldn't be featured when Tua came back, right? So now we have that. We've seen it before. We have that in the back of our minds. So what we should all be doing here is taking guys like Jordan Love, Colt McCoy. Let's see what they do. Store that information in the back of our mind because Kyler Murray's a mobile quarterback. Aaron Rodgers has had injury histories. Now he's got this whole COVID thing going on.
Right.
We want to know what these guys are going to do because if we see them down the road, that gives us a huge advantage, right? If it turns out that Colt McCoy just loves peppering Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk, store that memory. Those guys might be available down the road in the playoffs. If something happens, he comes up, you can, that you win leagues that way. We talked about Tim Hightower coming in and winning the leagues for people. That's how it happens. So Take that info, look at these backup quarterbacks, Brissett, Jordan Love, Colt McCoy, and just store that info. Don't take it for granted because, guys get hurt.
Yeah, guys definitely get hurt. And the backup quarterback situation, again, I even forgot Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins probably aren't going to play today. We saw the line in this game. It actually opened up with San Francisco getting 2.5 points, and now they're giving 3.5 points here. That's a pretty good indication that Kyler Murray is not going to be playing today. So you have a complete flip of a line there. So yeah, a lot of backup quarterbacks in the lineup today. We've got a lot of guys that we're looking at could be questionable, could be limited. So we'll have to go ahead and pay attention. We'll get the inactives here for those 1:00 games before we jump off today, Coop. So we'll be able to update everybody as to what is going on. But let's just get into it. Our live stream QA channel over in our subscriber Discord is firing up right now. A lot of questions coming in, so let's waste no more time. We have a question right here for this morning. They want to know who we're going to be playing today in a standard flex. Javonte Williams, Mike Davis, Kenneth Gainwell, Hunter Renfrow. Wow, there's a lot of people here.
Mm-hmm.
Or Zach Ertz, Marquez Callaway, Warpaint. You got 9 guys here. What are we doing? You need one out of all these players.
That's quite a crew. Yeah,
a group. I mean, probably Hunter Renfrow, right? I mean, I know it's a standard.
That's the problem for me.
But I mean, I don't know. Ertz has the backup QB. You can't run with Mike Davis. Gainwell, it's still standard. He's not going to run the ball a lot there. Callaway has Simeon.
I oddly kind of like Javonte Williams. I mean, the knock on him is that he doesn't play pass downs, but in standard, that kind of goes out the window a little bit. You know what I mean? In PPR leagues, it was shown by Scott Barrett that a reception is worth like almost more than 2 times what a carry is worth. In standard, that's more like 1.4. It's still worth more, but you're really just kind of hunting for touchdowns. And I kind of like Javonte Williams versus Dallas.
Yeah, that's true. Hunting for touchdowns for sure. I mean, I just look at the Dallas run defense is actually pretty decent. It's 11th in DVOA. The Giants' pass defense is generally considered one of the worst in football outside of Bradbury, of course. And Bradbury's not going to be on Hunter Renfrow. So Williams is definitely, I think, a good play. Last week we saw Melvin Gordon be the one to get all the points. The week before that, it was Javonte Williams. So for me, it's a coin flip, Renfrow, Williams, but those are the 2 guys that you're deciding. And I'll just stress this now. It's not to be rude or mean, but, giving us 35 players to discuss isn't exactly the best way to go about doing this. Give us 1 or 2 guys that maybe you're going back and forth for, and we can do our best here to help you all out.
I will say this. Like when you give us just a couple guys, we can actually flesh out the response on each player, right? You give us 2 guys, we'll talk about both, and we might say, "Oh, go with Renfrow," but the things we say might make you say, "I actually want to go with Javonte Williams." So it's sometimes you want to hear the full opinion. If you give us 100 guys, we can't do that. Right. And also, I just want to mention there was a question before that one from yesterday. If we just want to get
I see that Landry or Hunter Renfrow in a full PPR.
Yeah, those guys are very similar, and they're now very close. I think I still like Landry, though, as a guy that plays every snap, and he's kind of the focal point now of that pass attack with no Odell. Renfrow is still one of 2, and he's in a pretty good spot. But for me, I like Landry.
I think he's their target leader, Renfrow.
Right, so, yeah. It's close. They're very similar plays.
Yeah, I hate Baker Mayfield, so I would go Renfrow there. Baker sucks. As we saw, OBJ had the 3rd highest uncatchable ball rate this season. It was like 43% of the passes thrown to OBJ were deemed uncatchable. No wonder why he was upset. So
yeah, and you and I talk about this. One real telling thing, like you just said with Kyler Murray, how far did that line move? Like 5 points, right? Yeah, Aaron Rodgers ruled out and moved like 6 points. Derrick Henry, when Derrick Henry got ruled out, what this line was before to now moved like 7 points. When Baker got ruled out that week, 1 point.
Yeah, so it moved 1. Right, it moved 1 point. What was it? Henry only got a point movement on his being ruled out, but it was Dak Prescott had the 4.5 point move as well. So generally, quarterbacks are good for like half a touchdown, depending on who the quarterback is. And Baker got 1 point. So exactly, not a good quarterback there. Next question that we have here coming into Discord: Tyrod Taylor or Daniel Jones? Fatty, it doesn't matter if it's a half-point PPR when we're talking quarterbacks. So just throwing that out there for those who are, want to save themselves typing some extra words. Tyrod Taylor, Daniel Jones here.
What will help us though, if you can throw it in there when you do the quarterback questions, is whether it's 4-point passing or 6, especially if one of the options is a mobile guy. For me, I like Daniel Jones. I mean, you can throw against the Raiders. He's been pretty consistent.
Galladay expected back today.
Galladay back, Kadarius Toney's playing. Evan Engram is Evan Engram, but he's got some weapons, and I just trust him in the rhythm he's in now against that team versus a guy coming in for his first game back, even though Tyrod's kind of interesting. But with
that was probably the most bland I've ever heard you talk about Evan Ingram before.
I know. I try to keep expectations low on the.
I was gonna say you're finally maybe giving up on your boy. I don't know.
No. He's my.
In a PPR pick 1 at running back, Adrian Peterson, Tony Pollard, Mike Davis, or Mark Ingram. So this is a tough one here.
Didn't take long, man. Didn't take long. And so you and I kind of talked about the Adrian Peterson situation, and here's kind of the blanket statement from us on that situation is so Adrian Peterson's coming in. They liked him enough to actually give him a full roster spot, not just a call up. Right. There's different designations. So they clearly like him. He's probably going to get a partial workload. He's never been a guy that catches passes, right? Even going back to when he was a full-time back in Minnesota, one of the few backs ever to finish top 3 or even top 5 with less than 25 catches. It's basically like him, Derrick Henry, Marshawn Lynch. That's it, right? So the way we look at it is if you're in half-point or standard, great. If you're looking at guys that are also splitting carries, then you might want to lean on a guy like Adrian Peterson. And same thing for Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be splitting snaps too. So you look at the skill level, you look at the situation, and have to make that call. You know what I mean? But if you have a back that's a full-time back that's catching passes and, getting the full workload, I would skew that guy just because it's safer, right? In this group of players here, we don't have anybody like that, right?
No, maybe Tony Pollard is like the only interesting play just because he does have those explosive moments. We talk, you and I go back and forth on him, and we're definitely big Zeke guys, no doubt about it. We talk sort of the downside of Tony Pollard, but when I'm looking at Mike Davis or Mark Ingram or Adrian Peterson, like Pollard almost feels like the more appealing option, especially in a PPR, because Pollard does also catch 2 or 3 passes a game, and he's always potentially going to take one out there. So. I probably go Pollard of the group. I mean, do you agree?
I like Pollard. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you kind of have to. I mean, and that's the thing that with running backs is like, you get this like thought that you can't start the second guy. You know what I mean? But when you look at the game log, he's getting guaranteed touches in 6 out of 8 games. He's had 10 double-digit carries. I mean, some of these starting running backs aren't getting double-digit carries. If you're the starting running back,
Davis isn't doing that. So
Davis, if you're the starting running back for the Texans, starting running back for the Dolphins at times are getting like 4 carries. So, for me, I like Tony Pollard. He's going to get minimum 7-8 carries, you know, and the thing
probably 2 to 3 catches, maybe, so.
Right. And with a guy like that, the snap counts go out the window. Same with Cordarrelle Patterson. When they go in the game, they're getting the football. Right. So it's not necessarily like his points per snap has got to be way up there because when he's in there, he gets it and then he comes back out. You know, Zeke does all the pass blocking. He does all the dirty stuff. So, I do still like Pollard. I just don't like him as much as Zeke, obviously.
Yep. PPR, Elijah Mitchell or Kenneth Gainwell, and Deebo Samuel or Chase Claypool for today.
Tough matchup for Mitchell, but I still like Mitchell's workload compared to Gainwell. I mean, they not only use Boston Scott, but they use Jordan Howard. It's just hard to trust.
You need Gainwell to. So I'll say maybe a positive game script potentially here, but you're also looking at a Chargers team that ranks 30th in DVOA against the run. If they're not running the football with Gainwell, like you mentioned. So this would have to be a game where the Chargers are ahead, and then they throw to Gainwell for his value there. I like Mitchell a lot. I know Jeff Wilson came back, but from things I've read, Wilson's expected to be more of this change of pace and maybe even bump Hasty out of the role that he had. So there's I think Mitchell's safe, even though he's dealing with, I think, a rib injury. The other side is kind of interesting here because Shanahan has said Deebo is going to play, but he's hurt. He doesn't even know if he's going to play through the whole game, if he's going to be limited. Like, that's a tough look to start Deebo Samuel, even though the matchup is kind of decent for him. The other side, you have Claypool and just the inconsistencies of the Pittsburgh offense, where like that's starting to be pretty clear that it's Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, and then maybe every once in a while someone else will get some looks there as well. But I almost feel like Claypool is where I would want to go because I don't know what's going to happen with Deebo today.
Yeah. So Deebo falls in that category of Hail Mary player for me, right? Like if you look at your matchup and you're even in the matchup or favored, you feel like you have a good chance, you got to start Claypool. He's gonna do something today. Debo has a chance to do nothing. He has a chance to give you a 0 because when they say
run one route, the calf pulls on or whatever it is, and he's out.
Right, exactly. You know what I mean? He could get ruled out 5 minutes before the game when you don't even have time to fix it. You know what I mean? So on the flip side, Debo has been amazing. He's got that home run speed. He could do those kind of things. So if your matchup is desolate, like if you are you need crazy points from everybody just to compete, then maybe you just throw the Hail Marys in there. But for me, I'm going with the safe guy with Claypool.
Yeah, I agree with you on that call as well. Next one, playing Cousins this week is Amari Fulton. Aaron Rodgers was dropped. Would you drop Cousins after today to add Rodgers to hold for Murray's bye week? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Rodgers is better than Cousins, so that one works for me, home run. Sorry, this one's long. Maybe you want to take out a pen and paper here, Coop, or something. I know you're also reading the Discord. PPR need to make a drop for a Fulton for Murray. This is a popular question I've been dealing with. Even our producer Matt Sells had a drop question today at the quarterback spot, trying to figure out where to go. Options are Mike Davis or Jeff Wilson. Hate to drop running backs. We know Wilson could do Galladay or Mooney. Figure the Giants and Bears are on a bye and swoop them back up. I would drop Mooney of the grid. Yeah.
I think if you have Galladay, Tony, and Mooney, and Galladay's on your bench, then when are you going to start Mooney? You know what I mean? You got to start thinking about how far these guys are away from your starting lineup. I still hold on to Jeff Wilson just because the idea. Think of how good that line is, right? Yeah. Like Trent Williams was the number 3 graded run blocker on PFF last year. This year he's number 1. Mike McGlinchey was number 4 last year. Like this is. The line is so appealing there, and Shannon is such a hot hand weirdo that there's a chance that Jeff Wilson just becomes a star. So you got to hold a guy like that. Mooney, he is what he is at this point, really.
Yep, I agree with you on that one. Let's see. Good morning. Need one in PPR for a flex. Nico Collins or Adrian Peterson?
That's interesting. I mean, Nico Collins is playing a full snap share. He's playing split end, opposite of Brandon Cooks, but he's not really featured a whole lot. I think I would still go AP. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, John, things are looking up for Nico Collins though in terms of recent production. Now that was with Mills. That wasn't with Tyrod Taylor. But over the last few weeks, at least in a PPR, he's actually started to be a little bit better. I may actually take a shot here. With Nico Collins, knowing that the Miami Dolphins pass defense ranks 26th in DVOA. Collins' snap share for the last 2 weeks has been over 60%. First time all year that he's been over 60% in consecutive games. 9 targets, 6 catches. I mean, is it exciting stuff? No, but I think Tyrod maybe in this game flow could look to him a little bit. And we were kind of high on Nico coming in.
Very high.
He's been hurt, a lot, and the quarterback play has been great, but maybe things are going to start looking up now that he is healthy. So for me, I'm going Nico Collins against Miami. It's just like you're running Adrian Peterson fresh off the street with a week of practice. Who knows even how much he's going to play, even though they gave him the roster spot. Like if he gets 8 to 10 carries, I almost feel like that's where he's not going to get 25, right? Is he going to get 15? Like that feels like the ceiling. And it's the Rams who are just blowing teams out. Are they going to even have Peterson on the field for trying to play from behind here, right? Like, it just doesn't feel like an Adrian Peterson game for me. You're just hoping that they get in the red zone and he punches one in. It feels like he's going to average like 3.5 yards per carry at best today. So I'm just out on Peterson in this one. I'd rather wait and see how he does and try my hand with Nico.
Yeah, and I will say this with anyone out there, that plays Dynasty, if you can get your hands on Nico Collins, he is like a carbon copy of Kenny Galladay. If you listen to these stats real quick, Kenny Galladay, 6'4", 218, 4.5 40 on flat, and he was the 32nd pick of the 3rd round. Nico Collins, 6'4", 215, 4.5 40 flat, 25th pick of the 3rd round. So these guys are like on the dot, like physical carbon copies for each other, which gives a lot of upside to Nico Collins if he can be a full-time split end, which it looks like he is. So definitely an interesting player.
Next question that we got going on here, 4-point passing touchdown, Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert?
Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert? I mean, you're in a good spot. That's 4-point passing. I mean, I think I would They're playing against each other too. Man, I both those guys I have as like top 5 starts this week, right? In 4-point passing, I think I would lean Jalen Hurts just for the rushing upside. But John, you're the quarterback whisperer, so why don't you? Who do you like on these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I hate Jalen Hurts from an actual fantasy. I mean, from an actual quarterback standpoint, I don't think he's very good. But the other thing to note in this matchup is the Chargers are without both their starting cornerbacks. So yeah, I'm gonna ride Hurts. I'm hoping this is a week that Javonte Smith gets it going. We know he's at least throwing to Dallas Goedert, and he can run. I mean, 71 rushing yards last week. He had 2 weeks where he had back-to-back rushing touchdowns. So you have the Chargers going from west to east again for like the 3rd time this year. They haven't really looked good in either of those. I mean, they got blown out by Baltimore. They eke by Washington in the opener. I know not many people think much of Philadelphia here, but it just feels like a really tough spot for the Chargers again to be successful. So give me Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, the only concern with Jalen Hurts, and you have to keep this in mind, is that in this league, when there's smoke, there is often fire. And there's been rumblings that Gardner Minshew, is a guy that they could tap at some point if need be. There is a non-zero chance that Jalen Hurts goes out, has a terrible first half, and then doesn't come back out in the second half. So if you want the safest possible play, it's obviously Justin Herbert, but Hurts definitely has the upside.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one for sure. 16-team dynasty, IDP, PPR plus TD. This is quite a league in Wizzle.
Yikes!
I'm all about actually the simplified fantasy experience, but everybody likes to change it up here. Only if CMC ends up not playing, he's going to play. They already said he's going to play. It's just going to be a limited snap share. Khalil Herbert or Chuba Hubbard. I know it looks like he is right now. Well, I mean, obviously, if CMC doesn't play, you play Chuba.
Right.
But CMC is going to play, and I play CMC over Herbert and Hubbard. So that's where I'm going there, Wizzle. I imagine you agree, Coop?
Yeah, I do. So David Montgomery, is he going to get limited snaps? I mean, what's I know they haven't.
Yeah, so by all accounts, Nagy is hopeful to work him in to a snap share of some level. So that is the expectation from things that I have seen, is that they feel like he is going to play. Nagy usually doesn't do the right thing. So, I guess we'll see. But the expectation is he will be activated. He will see some snaps this week. But it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good snaps. It's against Pittsburgh on the road. They have a good run defense. So it's not like anything I'm excited about, but that's the expectation here. So, Herbert's probably not going to see everything he's been seeing, but I would expect him still to be the majority carry leader in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I completely agree on that. It sucks that it's Monday, so you're not going to get an answer really whether, what his status is, but I go that way.
Question from Rowdy. Good morning, Ann. There we go here. Biggest workload for today, Adrian Peterson or Mcnichols?
I mean, it depends what format you're in, really. I think they're both going to play. I think Mcnichols is going to be – I mean, they didn't even like throwing to Derrick Henry in the first place, really. So AP is going to be in that, running down role, and I think Mcnichols is going to be in a passing down role. I think the more guaranteed workload is Adrian Peterson, because like we said, they didn't really like throwing to Derrick Henry, but it's not like they were throwing to Mcnichols a lot in that situation either. So it's kind of tough to start Mcnichols for me.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think I'm gonna probably go Mcnichols, and not to just be contrarian with you, Coop. I'm just looking at game flow here. I'm thinking that they're going to be behind in this game. While they don't really want to run Mcnichols too much, like they weren't throwing to Derrick Henry because it's not really what his skill set is, but it is what Mcnichols does well, right? So like if they're now in a spot where they don't have Derrick Henry to be on the field for 85% of their snaps, but Mcnichols is out there more than he generally is, and probably more than Adrian Peterson is going to be, I think it opens up the availability or the opportunity to actually throw the football to the running back more. So that's, I'm probably in a full PPR. I'm probably going to lean Mcnichols this way. It's not a great option, right? I'm just looking at game flow. Right. I'm thinking they're going to be from behind and just things like that. So it's Mcnichols for me, but low floors for both, man. I mean, it's just, they
won
could both have 3 fantasy points this week, right? It's a tough spot to be in.
they've won 6 of their last 7, and the game they did lose, the weird game versus the Jets, Mcnichols did get like 10 targets or something. I remember he double-digit targets. So I mean, it is a possibility. If it is a tough game.
That's just how I'm looking at it. It's just I think the opportunity potentially is going to be there for him this week. So and we'll see, right? Like this is a situation where we always talk about what a team does. This is a team that runs the football with Derrick Henry like 60% of the time, but now he's gone. So it's like, what does the identity of this offense even look like now? We have no idea. There is no Derrick Henry replacement. And we see when teams try to like run the same offense with the backup, it doesn't work. Like there's a reason why this guy is what he is. So I'm with you there. In that Jets game, he had 8 catches on 12 targets for 74 yards. So run me out some Mcnichols today in PPR. Next one, half PPR, need one. Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, or Boston Scott?
That is interesting because you got 3 guys that are splitting, 2 splitting with each other.
I will say Jordan Howard didn't get a carry till the second quarter last week, if that makes any difference to you.
And it was a blowout.
Boston Scott was the guy to get all the early touches there.
Yeah. That is tough. That is a tough set. I think I would go with Boston Scott. Like you said, the Chargers, one of the worst teams in DVOA. I think
last DVOA.
Last DVOA. Just in terms of raw yardage led up, they're dead last. So, I think I like that matchup for Boston Scott.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to run Boston Scott. We'll hope he finds the end zone. Probably going to get, at the minimum, he should get, the 12 carries here, unless Chargers come in, blow doors, and they got to go in a different direction with Gainwell. But Scott's where I'm going there. I need one wide receiver and one flex. Damian Harris. This is a full PPR as well. Damian Harris, Jerry McNichols, Amari Cooper, Emmanuel Sanders, or Kadarius Toney.
So we're definitely starting Amari Cooper. So put Amari Cooper in that wide receiver spot, and then I think I like Damian Harris. I mean, I still personally trust Emmanuel Sanders. He didn't reel in any of his targets, but he had a couple plays that he did catch that were negated by penalties. He had the only player that had over 100 unrealized air yards. So I'd still like Manny Sanders, but just not with that group of guys. I think I'm going Amari and Damian because they've been the safest, and they are still on the buy upside.
Damian Harris has been great, and he probably should have had over 100 yards and like 2 more touchdowns last week, but they kept on getting called back on holding calls. Mm-hmm. So I'm with you there. They're going to keep running Harris, and you got to go Amari. Especially, I mean, we're expecting CeeDee Lamb to play, but he rolled his ankle or something like that during practice this weekend. It is questionable. Coop, James Robinson is officially ruled out for today. Not that we were really looking to play Jacksonville this week against Buffalo, but those with Robinson in their lineups, get him out. If Carlos Hyde of all people is still available in your league, like that's your pickup replacement if you got nobody else to go there. Hyde was surprisingly used in the passing game more than I think many of us expected him to be last week. So maybe there's some value there, but not great going up against Buffalo. 14.5 point home underdogs. Is Houston this week. So, but just for those out there watching and listening, James Robinson officially ruled out. Next question that we got here, Hamburglar. PPR need one tight end, one flex. We had a returning George Kittle, who Shanahan said may play half the game. He'll be on a snap count. My boy Dan Arnold in that tough matchup against Buffalo. Brian Edwards, Mike Davis, Marquez Callaway. What are your thoughts here on this grouping?
Yeah, so I mean, not only is Kittle on a pitch count, which is brutal, but he actually faces in my opinion, the most difficult tight end defense in the league. I mean, they're letting up the least points to tight ends. Isaiah Simmons is a huge problem for tight ends. I mean, he's probably one of the top tight end cover guys. I mean, you saw it last week. He was lining up one-on-one with Aaron Jones, running step for step with him, broke up that crazy pass down the sideline. Like Isaiah Simmons, they went and got him. They drafted him specifically for this purpose. So even though Dan Arnold's going to face another guy that I try to avoid in Matt Milano, I'd rather go Dan Arnold. The way he's lining up, 80% of his snaps at wide receiver. He was the top target on the team last week. I mean, you take the guy that's playing the full game in this instance. So I go Arnold there, and then for the flex spot, I think you got to go. I mean, I personally think you can't. I wouldn't start Kittle in that situation. I'd probably start Brian Edwards and just hope you collect some of that, some of those targets left by Ruggs being gone. I mean, what do you think on the wide receiver, John?
Yeah, so here the one thing that I a lot of people I feel like there's like a false association here a little bit when it comes to like roles that players are going to like assume sort of.
Mm.
Everybody goes and say, okay, Henry Ruggs is out. Brian Edwards is the guy to step in, right? Well, Brian Edwards played 90% of the snaps the other day. So like he's not stepping into a role. He's already on the field, right? Right. Now it's where are the targets coming from? Henry Ruggs wasn't really like a target monster for this team either, right? A lot of those targets have been going to Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. Those two guys still exist. So maybe Brian Edwards gets another 2 targets, but like Zay Jones, I think, is expected to start and fill that Ruggs role. But, a lot of times when people get ruled out, there's an excitement about like who's going to fill in. But you kind of have to look at like, well, what was that guy doing in that offense already, right? Like, Henry Ruggs, by the majority of the account around football, was that he was a bust, right? Like, he wasn't productive. They weren't really going to him. And I understand that he was their team's leading receiver in terms of yardage. But the last 3 weeks, he played 71, 66, 84% of the snaps, 4 targets, 3 targets.
Yeah, it's not great. I mean, that's the thing. You're right.
What is Brian Edwards stepping into, right? Like, he's already there. It's just maybe he gets one of the 4 targets that Henry Ruggs was getting. Now, I don't mind Brian Edwards. I'm just saying that, like, have an understanding that this isn't, DeAndre Hopkins or Calvin Ridley or somebody that's getting 15 targets, 11 targets, 12 targets, and now they're gone. And you're like, oh, man, where are these target shares going to go? It's a guy that's getting 4. So
targets are earned, right? And he plays split end, so it's not like he's going to move over and play flanker. Zay Jones or somebody's going to come in and play flanker, and Renfro's going to be in the slot. But from that standpoint, now it's just when you weigh out the distribution, he's going to get slightly more than he was before. It's just a matter of this question of Mike Davis is competing with Cordarrelle Patterson, Marquez Callaway now is playing with Trevor Siemian. In this particular group, I think regardless of that group, I think I might have been starting Brian Edwards even if Henry Ruggs was there. So I don't know. Mike Davis could be an option.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be able to run. Like, nobody runs on the Saints. They haven't for 5 years, right? So it's you hope he just catches the football. It's a tough spot. I mean, listen, I do like Brian Edwards. It's just I just wanted to
clear that up.
Explain
for anybody that thought. Don't go out and be like, oh, now I got Brian Edwards and I can start him over all these other guys, that are studs. Like, not much has changed here.
Nothing has changed. He literally is playing 90% of the snaps, so you can't go any higher. Need one: Darrell Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Zach Moss, and a full PPR. They also have Adrian Peterson. Yeah, I'm not going to play Peterson there. Darrell Williams is kind of interesting to me today. Green Bay, their rush DVOA, they rank 30th in football. Now, Gore last week came out of nowhere to get the touchdown and actually handled like 12 carries. So like that's a bit of a worry, but Williams also still had like 6 catches. So this is a PPR. The Chiefs offense, I think people are expecting to be ahead here. Williams is appealing to me. It's him or Mitchell of the 2, I think.
I don't know. I kind of like Zach Moss too. I mean, Zach Moss is a smash ball with the Jaguars.
So you just need them to run with him, right? Which they will. But is he going to score or is he just going to get yards? They're not going to need to throw to him because they're going to be ahead. And for me, and one thing I preach a lot is that with this Bills offense, the points come from Josh Allen, right? Like, Moss has 2 rushing touchdowns on the year. They came in the same game against Miami back in week 2, and that's it, right? So if they're
the difference maker here is the PPR, in this situation, right?
Right. You're hoping that they throw to him enough in this game, but like, are they going to even need to, right? Like, what's his target share going to be, or is Josh Allen just going to sit back there 4 wide and throw to Beasley, Sanders, and Diggs until they're up by 30, and then Moss gets the garbage run? So. That's my only hang up there with those running backs in Buffalo.
It seemed like Derek Gore played a lot last week, but here are the snap counts from last week. 16 snaps for Derek Gore, 13 snaps for Jerick McKinnon, 52 snaps for Darrell Williams. So it really wasn't as drastic as people think. And Darrell Williams was the guy that clearly was out there on the field for the pass plays, getting those opportunities. Even if they didn't go to him, he's going to be the guy in that situation. So I think Darrell Williams is where I'm going there too.
Yep, that's just how I'm looking at it. Next matchup here, PPR need 2: Emmanuel Sanders, Devonta Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, or Mecole Hardman.
So I think we both like Devonta Smith today versus that Chargers defense that was already bad and is now worse against the pass. So Smith is in there for sure for us. And I'm personally sticking with Emmanuel Sanders. Yeah. I know, the last week was scary, but he's still playing every snap pretty much opposite of Stephon Diggs. In fact, in the last 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure in all 3 games, Emmanuel Sanders has actually played more snaps than Diggs. He's leading that team in snaps. He doesn't come off the field. So, I definitely see a bounce back game for Sanders. Last week was just tough luck. You know what I mean? You don't get any points for pass interference calls both ways, right. So that's just the way it goes there. But I think Sanders, if you look at the game log beyond that one weird outlier game, he's been fairly consistent. So
yeah, no, I'm with you on that one too. Those are the first 2 guys I'd play. Just too much questions behind the rest of that group there.
It's the Jaguars, with Emmanuel Sanders. So
yeah, exactly. Start Burrow and Landry, sit Kyler and D. I mean, D-Hop's not going to play, and Kyler's unlikely to play here. So Burrow and Landry is the direction that you're going to go there for sure. I imagine there's no disagreement, Coop, because the other 2 aren't playing. So
they're not playing. That's the easy one to end.
Yeah. Good morning, guys. Winter Ale. I like winter ale. Coop, you like winter ale?
Big fan, dude. Boston, baby. Right?
Yeah, amen. Do I roll with CMC or play one of these instead? Emmanuel Sanders, Javonte Williams, Mike Williams, or Van Jefferson in a PPR? Kind of interesting throwing a bunch of receivers at us here. Where are you going?
I mean, I feel like I'm going to go Mike Williams, right? I mean, I have him. It gets Darius Slay. That's kind of the. Yeah. Well, we don't know if he gets Darius Slay. It's like that's why some of these are so hard. But I mean, Mike Williams is borderline top 15 or so wide receiver, no? Like for guys
I guess
to start.
My question is recent performance, right? He's been awful. He just hasn't been good. I don't know if he's still banged up. There was that issue that he dealt with an injury a few weeks back, and he played through it. That worries me. This is definitely a good matchup for them. We think, but I'm probably still going CMC here. I know he's going to be on snap count. I know they've said it. Mike, there's just a lot of. I just haven't seen anything really great out of Mike Williams of late. The Patriots' pass defense isn't anything special, and they were really kind of able to hold him down. I'm gonna pull up just some of the recent numbers for him and see if maybe we can figure out what it could have been. Right, like the last 2 weeks against New England and Baltimore in games they were behind, 5 targets in each, 2 receptions. He did play 90% of the snaps against New England, but only 36 against Baltimore. Like. There's something going on here, right? Like he had the 8 for 16 against Cleveland, great game for him in Week 5, but then he had 1 catch on 4 targets against the Rams. So like 3 of the last 4 games, he's been just taken out of game plans. Maybe teams are scheming for him.
Yeah, it could be.
Slay will be a guy that's on him.
That would be problematic because I think he's a guy, if you look at the boom bust nature, it's kind of like Mike Williams where, when teams take him away, teams can take him away if they want, so this could be a situation.
You just don't let them get behind you. And when they're in the red zone, you don't give them single coverage and, they figure out what to do there. So I'm still going to go CMC here. I would probably even consider Emmanuel Sanders over Mike Williams, but not yet for Van Jefferson. Soon, but not yet. I think Jefferson is like a guy that's on the come there. So,
and I think when you think about a CMC snap count, you got to think about what it's going to look like. Like they're not going to put him out there to pass block. That's a situation where you can get banged up. They're not going to put him out there for
no, they're not going to put him out there to touch the football.
To touch the football, exactly. Like they're not going to put him out there for like designed runs for PJ Walker. They're not going to put him out there for what I mean. Like any situation where he's gonna be coming into contact with people when he doesn't have the ball, they're going to avoid those. But he's going to be out there to catch passes in the flat where he can get out of bounds and stuff like that. So
40% of CMC can still lead the league in fantasy scoring. So
it's true.
He's that good of a player. Hooper or Komet in a PPR, and Ingram or Uzama today.
Okay, so I cannot trust Austin Hooper. He never runs more than 50% of the routes. They've got a very strange setup over there of using multiple tight ends, but also rotating them, taking them out of the game. I just don't like it. I would rather run Cole Kmet, give myself a chance at upside. Cole Kmet is still playing a huge snap share. He's still playing a ton of snaps at the slot. In a different offense, or in this offense with a different quarterback, we would be talking about Kmet as a guy that you start every week, honestly, because even the target share is good. It's just they're not throwing a lot. So I prefer Kmet over Hooper there. And with the other one, I'm definitely starting Evan Engram over CJ Uzoma. I mean, if you look at the games, he had basically the one really good game when T. Higgins was out. In the other games where Higgins has played, he's been mediocre at best. I mean, 3 targets. Even the game with 2 touchdowns versus the Ravens, 3 targets. You can't trust it. You know what I mean? He had 4 targets last week, which is 4 targets last week was his second best game, right? The other games, here's his targets: 2, 2, 1. Then T. Higgins was out against the Jaguars, who were a terrible tight end defense, and he had 6. Then Higgins came back, 2, 3, 3, 4. I mean, Evan Engram has had 4 targets in every single game. You know what I mean? So I just take the safety with Ingram.
Cool. We got some inactives in here, and I just want to get your take since we're talking tight ends, and maybe this is a guy that's on free agency for some leagues. Juwan Johnson's inactive for today. I know you've been talking a lot of Cole Kmet.
No, that's Trotman. So Trotman is a guy to look for.
Trotman, rather, yeah.
And if you guys out there, I say it every week. This is one of my favorite pages for any site. Like I use our site for a ton of stuff. I use other sites for a ton of stuff. We have the best inactive page in the industry. It is so clean. It just shows every team who's inactive, the line, who they're playing. It's perfect. I love it. With Adam Trotman, he basically was playing 7.5 snaps at the slot in the first 4 games on average, right? Which is not a lot for a tight end. I mean, very few guys play that. Like when you're the starting tight end, you're inevitably going to end up at the slot. Last 3 games, he's played 17, 19, and 18 snaps at the slot. And last week, he got 6 targets, a number of those coming from Trevor Siemian. So Adam Trotman's a guy that's on the upswing. Michael Thomas is out for the year. There is technically an open spot for to be the second target on that team. So Trotman, a guy I'm stashing in a lot of leagues.
Cool. Listen, what do you think about him for this matchup against Atlanta if people are looking for maybe a tight end flyer this week?
His usage has been good. I'm going to pull up and tweet out the I haven't done it yet, but after this, I'll pull up the targets that he got from Siemian. But I know that Siemian did look his way a decent amount, so I'll tweet those out and we'll see if that's looking like a good one. But I mean, he's a guy I would honestly trust Trotman this week over CJ Uzoma. I mean, it's just right. He's not a focal point of that offense, whereas Trotman is kind of trending that direction.
Yeah. Sterling Shepard's out. I think we kind of knew that one. Saquon Barkley's out. Kind of knew that one as well. Sam Watkins, Latavius Murray. N'Keal Harris. JJ Taylor's out this week. So Ramondre Stevenson is going to be active for New England. Seems like those 2 guys sort of flip back and forth depending on the week. Brandon Bolden is active, so I guess that's a good news. With Taylor being out, you continue to see that workload. Royce Freeman is inactive. So Chuba Hubbard is the backup running back there today. Freeman out. So Freeman being out maybe even is better for McCaffrey in terms of those passing down work that they would see. But that's kind of it for big names that I am seeing right now. So I guess if any late breaking news happens with guys ruled out, we will of course have it for you all. Let's go back to the questions here. Let's see. Where did we leave off? The Cooper Kmet. Okay, Boston Scott or Julio Jones in a PPR?
I mean, I like that matchup a lot for Boston Scott. And Julio has just been kind of, is he ever going to be fully healthy from this? It's a hamstring, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
And probably not.
Yeah, I think he's just at that point where, he's going to be banged up for the rest of the year, kind of, being used sporadically. So I like Boston Scott in this matchup.
Yeah, Boston Scott for me as well. Melvin Gordon or Jeremy McNichols in a PPR?
Wow. I think I still like Melvin Gordon. He's guaranteed work, whereas McNichols, we think, he's going to be, get a good share. But I don't know, John. What do you think? Are you sold on the McNichols or?
I think I mean.
It's full PPR.
I'm not sold, but it is full PPR. And like we talked about, the 12 targets when he got that, that increased snap share back in whatever week it was against the Jets when they were playing from behind. So, yeah, listen, I there's no way that Adrian Peterson is seeing as many snaps, obviously, as Derrick Henry did. So McNichols is going to be on the field more than he's ever been, and just him being out there is going to allow for the game plan to potentially involve him more in the passing game. So I probably, Melvin Gordon though, right? Like, I think I'm going to go Melvin Gordon. I think I'm going to go Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
He's going to get the carries. We know he's going to split the workload, but he can also catch football. He got the touchdowns last week. I'm gonna go Gordon. I think he's the safer option here. Need one of three for a flex and a half PPR. Kirk, David Johnson, or Tim Patrick.
So I like Christian Kirk here. Hopkins is likely out. AJ Green is potentially out as well, right? I mean, do we have an update on him? He was on the COVID list. No AJ Green. Looks like. Yeah, I think AJ Green is out.
Yeah, I saw that he was on the COVID list as well. So it's probably Kirk, but it's Colt McCoy probably. So
yeah, I mean, Colt McCoy, he's been in this league. It's not like some random guy coming out of complete left field here. I think he'll be able to find some wide receivers today. So I think Kirk's going to play a full snap share here, and I like him over Tim Patrick, he's just kind of a boomer bust touchdown guy, and now they have Judy and Sutton, though I think Fant is also out. I don't know. Where do you go on this one? I'm a Kirk guy, though. You know what I mean?
I mean, you probably go Kirk. So Kirk is probably where I go here as well. They're gonna have to throw. I think they're gonna have to throw in this game. So
some updates here: Rashad Bateman, Jonnu Smith, John Ross active, Calvin Ridley, Dawson Knox, Noah Fant are out. That's from Matthew Berry, so he's pretty good on that stuff.
Yeah, guys, we knew. Yeah, we knew those other ones were going to be out. The Bateman one's good. I like him in DFS this week. He's cheap. 12 targets the last 2 weeks before the bye, so good there. I need two in a PPR: Renfro, Sutton, or Tony.
Man, that's a tough crew. Renfro,
does Sutton get the Travion Diggs treatment though?
Yeah, I mean that is scary. But I mean, Kadarius Toney is also such a wild card. You know what I mean? He's like in and out of the game. But I mean, he was targeted so heavily when he was active there. I think I'm leaning Renfro. Renfro's been so consistent. I think I would definitely start Renfro with that crew, and I'm going Renfro
and Tony for me.
Yeah, Renfro and Tony. Go for the upside. Tony's the fun play. I mean,
no Shepard today. No Shepard. Yeah. Tony's gonna play out of the slot. So you're gonna have Galladay in the outside. You're gonna have Tony in the slot. That's where I'm going.
Right. Of that crew, I feel like you would regret it most because Tony's got the highest upside. You would regret it most if you sat Tony and he went off. Yeah,
I mean that in Teddy Bridgewater isn't not a guy that pushes it downfield at all. So with Judy back, I wonder where Sutton fits there. So Tony and Renfro for me. Need PPR, wide receiver, and a flex. Have Debo and Hopkins. Switch either of them. Well, you can't play Hopkins. He's not going to play. Tim Patrick, or wait until later, and I can play. No, what? You can play Woods. Play Woods.
Play Robert Woods, yeah. So Robert Woods,
play Robert Woods put over Robert Hopkins Woods for sure.
In that wide receiver slot. So in the flex, you have Debo. So that's not a question for Woods. So you have to pick one of Patrick, Debo, Kirk, or Van Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm if Debo's active, I'm playing Debo. If he's inactive, play Kirk, right?
Yeah, over that crew, I'm starting Debo because it's like Debo's just been so good. He could just be healthy enough to play the full game and beat Debo.
Yeah, what's Robert Woods in? I saw Robert Woods had a questionable status. What's his deal? Is he playing today?
That's a later game, so we don't have the official on that.
Right.
But I'll pull up another question while I look.
Yeah, see what I thought he was going to trending towards that direction, but again, you have Van Jefferson, so like if Woods, I guess, doesn't play, you can always flop him in for Hopkins. So you play Woods over Hopkins anyways, and then if for whatever reason Woods gets ruled out, you just put Van Jefferson in, unless those guys are like waivers, but I don't know. J-Rob's already out there, so need one of an awful mess. Michelle, David Johnson, Randall Cobb, Darius Slayton. It's also a tight end premium, so you could go CJ Uzoma.
Yeah, so I got the update. This is from Rams Wire. Also, Ian Rapport saying something similar that there's pessimism about Von Miller making his Rams debut, but Robert Woods is a go. He's good to
Okay,
go.
perfect.
Yeah.
Play Robert Woods over Hopkins. If Debo's out, play Kirk. That's how I'm attacking that one. And you'll know the status of Debo, and you can flip into Kirk because they play each other. So you'll have that information and enough time to make the flip. Robinson's already out. Tony Michel, David Johnson, Randall Cobb, Darius Slayton, Origo Uzoma. Michelle's like not getting touches. David Johnson lost workload to Rex Burkhead. Randall Cobb, Lazard, and Devontae Adams are back. Slayton got a 0 last week. You don't like Uzoma in general. So
yeah.
And is there like anybody in free agency you could pick up? Maybe tweet at us and let us know, and we can help out or put in chat here as well, and we can get you an answer. I guess Slayton would probably where I would go. But it's not. None of that's great.
Yeah, that mess, awful mess. It definitely is the term to describe that crew there. Yeah. So I mean, I think I would go with Slayton. I wonder. We kind of
he was on the field. What did we see? The stat was he ran like the second most routes last week. You just like didn't for the Giants. He just like didn't do anything with them. He dropped like 3 passes. So
yeah, he was out there quite a bit. He was out there. I think of the wide receivers, he actually ran the most routes. He ran 33. Yeah. He led them. 33 for him, 32 for Engram. Nobody else ran more than like Tony ran like 21. Sterling Shepard got hurt. So I like Slayton of that group. He's he'll be out there.
4-point passing TD, Burrow or Hurts.
So there's that 4-point passing, but I would go Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's a great matchup for him. And a great matchup to run against this team. And it's a 4-point passing. So it's just another reason that I like him over Burrow.
Yeah, I do really like Burrow. He's in my contrarian corner video this week for DFS, but that rushing upside for Hurts it's nice. And knowing the injury there that the Chargers are dealing with in this secondary, I think makes Hurts the guy as well. With the Tua news, do I bench Waddle for DJ Moore?
Yeah, I mean, DJ Moore for me is a guy that was already ahead of Waddle. So I'm just starting DJ Moore in general. Like I had him ahead of DJ Moore.
Even with Sam Darnold, you got to go more. So as well, need two running backs: Cordarrelle Patterson, Devontae Booker, Melvin Gordon, Dearness Johnson, Adrian Peterson, or Jerry Mcnichols. Need 2 from that group. So Cordarrelle Patterson for sure. And then it's one of the next group. It's probably Devontae Booker with no Barkley. So that's where I'm going.
When Barkley doesn't play, Booker gets the full workload.
He's already ruled out. So it's
committed to that. Yeah. So
Patterson and Booker.
Yep.
Well, you can't go Mills. Mills is not starting today. So
So
you're doing Brissett. You're doing Brissett for Tua.
You got it.
Mills is not playing today. So would you pick up Kittle as a replacement? DJ, I don't know what that question is referring to.
Who would you pick up as a Kittle replacement? So he's got.
Oh, okay. Who would you pick up as a Kittle replacement?
Yeah.
Kittle's playing today. So
Kittle's playing. But if he's out there, I mean that one.
Like who else would you play over George Kittle? I guess right. Like who would you pick up rather?
We would need
on the
more
wire
options.
Better than George Kittle, right?
Right, DJ. If you can jump back in there and throw in who's out there, I'll look at it. I have full tight end rankings.
Would you play Tyler Conklin over George Kittle today?
No, it's Conklin. He's got a good matchup, but the thing about Conklin is that this is the way I look at tight ends. Conklin plays a limited snap share in the sense that he's blocking on 18% of his pass plays. No other tight end in the top 30 tight ends blocks on that many pass plays. 18% is like 100 pass plays on the year. So we're talking like 6 to 8. So whatever his snap share is, just subtract 6 or 7 of the most important plays for a guy that catches passes. That's the problem I have with that guy. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about if they throw 30 times, he's in there for all 30 plays. He's only running 23 routes. So I would start Kittle over Conklin just because Conklin's pretty much guaranteed to have a limited number of routes,
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking like he's a popular ad right this week. So like if Djo's getting us the list right now, so we'll be able to before we sign off give him an answer to his question there. Half point PPR, need one wide receiver. Consider the leftovers can we consider for a flex? So big list here. CD, I mean, yeah, man, you're going to start CD Lamb, Mike Williams, Jerry Jeudy, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine should not be in that consideration. So you're going to start CeeDee Lamb as your wide receiver. And then it's Mike Williams, Jerry Jeudy, or Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams as a flex.
This to me is a Mike Williams or Jerry Jeudy question, right?
Yeah.
You're putting CD in and you need one more. And a half PPR. I think I still like Mike Williams over.
Okay, I'll give in to Mike Williams here because I don't. Right. Again, Bridgewater is meh to me. So
it's half PPR too, and he's the big ADOT guy. You know, we've seen him score multiple touchdowns multiple times. You know, in PPR you tend to go with the safer guy, but in half PPR or standard, I want those yards. I want those touchdowns. Mike Williams is getting downfield. You know,
yeah. I was definitely encouraged. Jeudy played 72% of the snaps in his return game, so. You know, I think there's potential there because this is, you know, Dallas is going to have to throw being from behind, but I'll run with the Mike Williams upside, I think, as well for that spot. J-Rob out. We just start Hyde or Javonte.
J-Rob out, Carlos Hyde or Javonte Williams. I kind of like Carlos Hyde. I think they don't really have another option. I mean, they're just kind of started. You know, they started J-Rob.
Was Agungbawale or something like that.
Yeah, Dare Agungbawale. He was with the Bucks for a while there, and he's a decent pass catcher. But I think Carlos Hyde plays a fairly full snap share, which you're not going to get from Javonte unless this is the game that everyone keeps talking about. This breakout game that's probably never going to come because Melvin Gordon's good. You know what I mean? It's like coaches don't look at it the way we look at it in fantasy. They look at it in terms of we have two guys that can do the job, so let's use them both. You know, so I don't think they're ever going to be like, okay, now you just don't play at all, Melvin, and you play all the snaps. There's no reason to do it.
Sure. Next question that we have, Roddy has a couple more. So Stafford or Herbert, Claypool or Jeudy in a PPR.
Man, so like Stafford and Herbert, I have those guys back to back.
I'm playing Stafford. It's not even close. So.
It's a matchup, right? So I personally have them back to back. But if you let me finish, John, I was going to say that I have Stafford ahead. But yeah, okay, it's Stafford and it's not even close. Is what John says, and I think that's the matchup for it. That's an over under 50 game, right? It's over 50, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7-point favorites at home. Stafford stopped Woods, like it's been great. And I'd probably go Jeudy in the full PPR over Claypool.
Yep, that's the difference maker.
Need one wide receiver and a flex in PPR. Higgins, Jeudy, Waddle, Mitchell.
With no two Elijah Mitchell. I like Higgins and maybe Elijah Mitchell. I mean, what do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine going there. Higgins and Mitchell for me as well. Hopefully, you know. Mitchell's ribs are okay, and he'll get the workload there.
Yeah.
Right. Debo, Bateman, or Marvin Jones in a full PPR. I mean, that's the tough one, right? Because Debo is banged up, and we don't know. We're expecting him to play, but we don't know, and the other two play before. So,
yeah, I think with those guys, you have good enough players that you don't need to use Debo in the week where he might go out for 2 plays and say my calf hurts and then not play. So it's the upside of Bateman versus the safety of Marvin Jones. Maybe look at your matchup, see if you need that extra juice from Bateman. I think Marvin Jones is pretty safe, but
I mean it is Buffalo.
Well, yeah, you could see you could see a lot of Trey White. So maybe go Bateman. I mean he's playing.
I would probably take a shot. I mean it's just. You know, there's so much uncertainty. You know, the last update was as of this morning here for Debo. Listed as questionable against the Cardinals, expected to play. Uncertain for how long he'll be able to go from Adam Schefter. Like
terrible. I hate that.
Like how do you?
That sounds bad. That sounds bad.
Right? It doesn't sound good. So yeah, go Bateman. I think we're going to go Bateman. All right, it's new. Let's rapid fire through these here, Coop. To see. Slayton, Van Jefferson, or Robbie Anderson, a PPR.
I like Robbie Anderson. I mean, it's consolidated targets. He can't be bad forever.
Yeah, it can't be the targets there. I agree. Help, need 2 of these guys: Michelle, Ahmed, Peoples-Jones, or Uzama in a tight end premium.
Good.
And your teams are just brutal, man. I know you're in trouble.
You got so many teams.
I guess Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, I mean, honestly, in that particular instance where it's tight end premium and the targets for Uzoma are worth like, so 3 targets or 4 targets tight end premium is 6 targets for Peoples-Jones. And I think that Uzoma could get that. And I think that that's more valuable than
she needs 2. Would you play Peoples-Jones over Ahmed?
Yeah. Peoples-Jones and Uzoma. Those 2.
Sure. Lamb, Claypool, Judy, Julio in a PPR need 2.
Start with CeeDee Lamb. He's a star. And need 2. PPR. Judy Claypool.
Judy.
Yep, Judy. Lamb and Judy.
Judy for me. All right. Djo got back to us here. He can pick up Albert O, Evan Ingram, Cole Kmet. He also has Hunter Henry on his bench over the Kittle decision.
Man, it's like Evan Ingram is so safe. Kittle's like he's playing such a limited snap. Akwe is walking into Fant's role, which isn't even that great. Fant plays a ton of inline. He doesn't really play slot. It's not like a special role. I mean, for me, I'm going Ingram. So that's
fine. I'll run Ingram with you. Hunter Henry obviously is always appealing, but yeah.
And really,
Ingram to me. Last question here, Coop. Need to pick up a QB. You're looking for the highest floor. Daniel Jones, Jordan Love, Matt Ryan, Big Ben.
I actually outright like Daniel Jones as a start this week against Las Vegas. I have him as a top 10 quarterback. So Daniel Jones has.
I like that he has Galladay back. So that's where we're at. Go with Daniel Jones, and that wraps up for today's live stream here. Coop and I, of course, will be available on Twitter and in Discord, leading right up till roster lock. All of the DFS content is out. Howard Bender has released this week's example lineups, the playbook, the dartboard, everything for you guys to crush another NFL DFS Sunday with us here at Fantasy Alarm. For now, Coop and I will catch you next week.